Good evening and welcome to the Black Feather, an Ospreys rugby fan cast that's been taken over by international season or international window, shall we call it? All right, both.
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah. Swiftly trying to move on from the weekend just gone. Looking ahead eagerly at Wales, Italy, because it means at least one of my teams should get a win this weekend, unless we get a draw, and then I'll probably
You
go
drunk
cry about
anyway?
the mommy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mark, how are
yeah.
you?
Bonjour, Sam.
Bonjour.
L'attaque du Pays de Galles est terrible. Que fait Rob Howley? Zut alors.
Sutano.
That's
Merde.
about it.
Like that. Merde.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I did have a few swear words in there as well, which I took out to the translator. But yeah.
um, yeah. Désolé. Désolé.
You've both expended my GCSE level French there.
Comme ci, comme ça. Come a day, go a day. Um,
You've been
Antoine
magnificent.
Dupont, magnifique. We'll go from there. But yeah, we'll get onto that a little bit later. Obviously, I've changed my background in honor of the fact that I am going to Rome on Thursday morning. Have I packed? No. Have I got a suitcase out of the attic? No. Have I washed the clothes to take with me that I want to wear? No. Am I prepared? No, but I have got enough time on my passport and I've got euros. Happy days. It's all you need, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough.
Um, and a toothbrush, yeah. I should imagine I could buy one out there if I really wanted to, you know. But yeah, we'll get on to the weekend in a bit. Um, but first of all, let's talk news. News. So Owen Watkin on Saturday. It's been announced this afternoon that um, he's had a bit of a knock to the knee. Originally, it was a suspected ACL injury. They've not come out and said that now. They've just said that it's a knock to the knee that needs further consideration. Definitely out for this Saturday's game against Rome. Against Italy, not Rome, Samantha, against Italy. And there's a high likelihood that he's possibly out for the rest of the season. Now, gutting, gutting for him, gutting for Wales, gutting for Ospreys.
At least it wasn't an ACL though, because that could have been, I guess, a lot worse
Horrific.
than
Yeah,
what it could
painful.
be, even if he is out for the rest of the season. But maybe it'll force Gatland into making some changes that I think we'd all like to see in that back line this weekend. So maybe it could bring a positive because, like you were saying before we started recording, Mark, I wouldn't be surprised if Gatland doesn't make a whole lot of changes.
No,
But maybe this could force that and
it might
force his
do.
hand.
I mean, from an Ospreys perspective, it's a real shame because the last month he's been in really good form, isn't he? He's found his attacking form. He's organising the defence well. It's just a pity that in not that it was a nothing game Friday, but in a game that was a complete blowout, that were to happen there. I know it's a shame for us going forward. We've got cover, but nobody of his experience really and talent to play. But yeah, shame, real shame.
Absolutely gutting. And another young lad that we've seen on the injured list this week is young Mr. Lloyd, Lewis Lloyd, posted a picture on Instagram today with him in a cast. So again, get well soon, buddy. Do you know what I mean? You will be noticed that you're not there. Mark, I know you're getting used to this Instagram thing now, aren't you? When you
I
messaged
am.
him.
I am. I think I'm getting younger by the week. I'm sort of getting used to social media. It's fantastic. But yeah, no, I did message him earlier on. Told him to stop chasing the sort of fast guys because to be fair, he sort of got injured with probably the moment of the season so far potentially. Yeah, so it's good to hear back from him, and hopefully he can recover sooner rather than later. Not quite sure what the extent of the injury is, but it doesn't look good when he's in a
Yeah,
cast like he was to us today, whatever. But hopefully we'll see him back sometime before the end of the season.
yeah, fingers crossed that whatever it is quick.
Yeah.
You know, he's a youngster. His body's with him. He's got time to do the rehab, and the rehab does seem pretty good with the Ospreys. With what I've seen with the other players who've been out and injured. Good news though, little video last week of Gatom re-signing. I know we've said it, Lance. If you watch this, your PR and social media team, they need a rise or a day off or a team outing because these videos that are coming through are amazing. It was the whole one is the loneliest number, and then with his little buddy Dewi. It
I was
was so
singing that song for a
lovely.
couple of days
I
after.
know, but
Was really sweet, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it
really
was.
good news for us for re-signing.
Well,
Fantastic stuff. I had a bit of a chat before this where I've admitted that I'm not bothered by gore or gunk. I really want to see pictures of Wayne Wright's face when it was split open. Um, his face came proper out, didn't it? And it was like that looked like it was an ouchie.
mhm.
But apparently he's hard as nails and he's possibly back in contention for the weekend.
Yeah.
So
Might be in Phantom Opera style, maybe.
he's going to have to wear a mask over that, and he can't take those stitches split in. But apparently, when he went off, Humphreys turned round and he literally said to the team doctor, shove some stitches in and let me go back on. Now, that is either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether I fall with that one, if I'm being honest.
Probably the latter, to be fair. And, the medical boys obviously got their way in the end. But yeah, there's no way you can go back on with an injury like that, is there? But
Can you imagine? Like, you can Vaseline up as much as you like, but that's not happening.
it would have been
Um,
terrifying. The French boys might have actually moved out of his way if he was coming at them with half a face caved in.
with half of that, like, looking zombified.
Yeah.
The Not a great weekend really for Welsh rugby, and we'll get on to the main show later. But our under 20s went across to France as well. Saw some bits and bobs, but again, 63-19 to France.
It was a shame. I mean, first half, it was nip and tuck, really. We were playing
Yeah.
well. We conceded just on the stroke of half time where we'd nearly scored the other end a few minutes before.
Mm.
That was a bit of a killer. But second half, the French should have upped their game quite a few gears. We became more ill-disciplined, lots and lots of mistakes and errors, as you expect from young players, I suppose. But
Mm.
it just fell apart quickly from there, really. And France, with their heads up, just like the first team, once they get their tails up, they're impossible to stop. And it's a shame. I hope it doesn't knock the confidence of the players because that first
Yeah.
performance should really give them a lot of heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did
Um,
did the young Osprey, the only one included in the match day squad, Dan Jermaine, get off the bench?
He did, yeah.
mm.
And how did he look?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty tight. I mean, by then the game was gone, so difficult really to judge how he was getting on. I tell you who did look good. No relation, as far as I know, to our Boshoff, but Wales had a winger Boshoff,
Yeah.
plays for Bristol. And yeah, he was superb, really sort of feisty character. But yeah, strong for the future, hopefully. Yeah, look good.
I think it's fantastic for the under 20s that we've still got the Six Nations because it gives us an idea of what we've got coming through, what the other Six Nations have got coming through. And to be honest, I've not kept my eye on it too closely, but there's been some to-in and fro-in with some players who are both English and Welsh eligible, hasn't there, over the last couple of weeks, and about where they're going to sign for, because I believe that unless it's a senior cap, then your flag's not exactly stung to your mask if you pay
Yeah.
for your under 20s, just like, Gabby Logan's son. He was under 20s England all the way, and now he's reverted to Scotland, isn't he? Because he's seen that there's more opportunities for him coming through in Scotland than there are in the England camp
Yeah.
at the moment. I just think it's a picture of Welsh rugby as it stands at the moment, really, isn't it? Um,
I mean,
So,
you think France are going to be one of the more strong sides in that under 26 Six Nations. Well, having said that, England and Ireland are quite strong as well. So,
yeah,
yeah, it's going to be a tough season going forward, I think.
so
Sorry,
there
Ross.
was a lot of discussion going into that under 20s game about Morgan Morse's involvement and whether he's more suited to, or whether it would be more beneficial for him to be, fast tracked into the senior squad rather than
senior squad.
representing the under 20s. What was the final consensus on that then? Because
They said in commentary that he was eligible for the under 20s,
but not selected.
but there was a decision made to leave him with the Ospreys.
Yeah,
Whether they feel that playing the URC games the Ospreys have got in this window is more beneficial for his development than
than
playing.
for him to be with the under 20s.
So is that part of the issue across the board then? Is that with the Welsh regions in a bit of a tricky situation, having to rely more on their academy boys? Are they missing basically the best and the brightest from that under 20 squad? Are they
Quite
missing all their
possibly,
key
yeah.
figures?
I, I,
Potentially.
yeah, I haven't heard of anybody else in the same situation.
Mhm.
Maybe they've targeted certain players that they want to fast track, like you said, through to the first team squad at some point, or if they get the A team back up and running at some point, which has been mooted as well. But maybe they've, pinpointed certain players for international level that they want to
Pathways.
get the experience with the big boys rather than play with the 20s, maybe for now.
Yeah.
And I think that A squad is that link between under 20s
Yeah.
and effectively schoolboy rugby, really, isn't it? To A squad to the main squad. Yes, you're going to have your superstars who go from under 20 straight into your senior squad, but your A squad really is your development squad where
Mm.
you think that they could make it, but they just need that little bit more time without the pressure because we all know Wales is a fishbowl when it comes to rugby. Everybody's got an opinion on everything. Um, and I really would hope that that would come back because where we are at the moment, it's such a shame that we are such a proud rugby nation with such a strong history. To see us where we are at this point in time is genuinely like sad
Mm.
without, wanting to sound over dramatic as I'm prone to do,
Well,
you know.
we can certainly really tell that none of us want to talk about the senior fixture because we're now talking about Wales A's again.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Should we just
I
get
think
the elephant out of the room? Should we
Can I
just get it out?
Can I
Right.
just delay it by one moment further? Just another bit of sad
Absolutely.
news for the Wales women's team is that
Yes.
Tuipulotu is out for the Six Nations at least, hopefully back for the World Cup. But she'll be a massive loss for the Six Nations squad, definitely.
What a player. Absolutely what a player.
And I
yeah.
can't think
Um,
of anything else now that can stole it for any further, I'm afraid. So
oh yeah. So we'll we'll go to Friday evening. I went out. That's a kiss of death anyway. So, went to the Albert Hall in Swansea, had some nice food. They cater for idiots like me who like the taste of gin but don't like drinking. So I was having 0% gin cocktails. And it was all lovely. And it was, nice light show for the French to start off with. And, all full of bonhomie and, Vive la Revolution with the anthem. And watched the first 10 minutes and I was thinking, oh, this is okay. And then someone put their hand inside my chair, stripped my heart out, put it on the floor, and stamped on it. Anton Dupont, you.
Hmm.
for 48
I don't
minutes.
know whether I love him or hate him. I love him because he's brilliant and he's a once in a generation player. But then on the other side, when he does things like that, then to my team, I want to rub his face with a brick. So I'm conflicted, guys.
You have to
Genuinely
appreciate him, don't you?
conflicted.
You have to appreciate him. He's an absolute superstar, isn't he? But should we try and start with some positives? I know Rod, you put a post up about Jack Morgan. I mean, he's
Yeah.
been universally acclaimed as being the one big positive for Wales on Friday. Should we start with Jack? I mean, he was everywhere, wasn't he? And you could see he was leading from the front completely on
Like he
Friday.
was cloned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. To run through those stats, 15 carries for 81 meters, He was top for meters made across both teams. Uh, One line break, one offload, three defenders beaten, 21 out of 23 tackles, two of which were dominant. So all of those were sort of first, second, or third place stats in those various metrics. It's amazing how somebody can put themselves across so well, not just on the stats, but just visibly for anyone watching when getting such a drumming. It's quite impressive, and that is pretty much the only positive that I can think of to come out of that, other than the scrums as
Yeah.
well, which
Rum
seemed
was
to
great.
hold up okay,
Gary,
considering the
Gary
challenge.
Thomas put in a really good shift. The first
Yeah,
he was only on for 50 minutes, was it 45 or
that one
50?
was great.
But he sort of showed up around the pitch as well, not just in scrummaging, but he carried well as well. And we'll talk about Wales's tactics later on. And but he was one. I know we're slightly biased, and we're probably looking for the Ospreys players more. But again, he was one that did front up at least on Friday.
Hmm.
Yeah, fantastically, fantastically. So I did think he had a really, really, really great game.
Yeah.
Um,
As did a couple of others. I thought Tom Rogers really busy about the park. A bit of that Dan Cassende about him, really, isn't it? In the way that
yeah,
he looks for work, just eager and excited, and things come off for him because he goes into things positively.
he
Goes
was
in,
giving things a go,
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
trying.
What's that
And he
same
was
as
Um,
the
probably
first 10?
behind a lot of that positivity in that first 10 minutes because he was just getting us go forward and winning kicks back. So,
Yeah,
um,
I was going to say, in that first 10 minutes, it looked like Wales had tactically got it about right. They were kicking to try and win possession back. They've got Rogers, who's good at that. Liam Williams is probably one of the best ever at that. And we were trying to play to our strengths, which we did for about 7 or 8 minutes, and then didn't do it again for the
it
entire game.
folded.
But what changed? I haven't watched it back, but when I think back to it, it's like, yeah, that first 10 minutes was great. Can't think of what, significantly happened to change the outlook apart from France getting on the scoreboard. But our heads shouldn't drop at that point. We're playing a quality opposition. It should be a case then of going, right, let's go get back at them,
Yeah.
not heads
Tactics,
dropping, tactics out the window, everyone
naive,
playing their own game.
I thought Ben
tactically
Young's
naive.
Yeah, I thought Ben Young summed it up really well. Saw a clip of a pod that he was on, and obviously he knows what he's talking about. He plays scrum half or whatever, and he was saying Wales's tactic. He analysed it was basically first phase off nine for a centre or somebody to run on
Hmm.
to, and then from there on it was a pod off 10 every time, and it was just rinse, repeat constantly.
Didn't change.
And I know I criticised Anscombe a lot in the autumn for his play, but when you see the way Ben Thomas and Dan Edwards, when he came on, play for Wales, they're doing exactly the same as Anscombe did. They crab across, they put a short pass to whichever forward is the
Is
lamp
there?
next who's going to run into a brick wall. And then they recycle and do the same again and same again.
Dumfries
We had
didn't
we
free
had
up.
50% possession on Friday.
Yeah, and no points.
With it, and France scored 43 with the same amount of possession as we had.
Yeah.
First time we've been nilled since Six Nations.
Yeah.
First time in 25 years.
And
Um,
France have beaten us in the last seven encounters now. Can you guys think as to when the last time we beat them was?
Last time I saw us beat them was in 2005 in Stade de France.
You mean personally in the stadium?
Personally, yeah,
Definitely,
that
yeah.
was the year I went. I did the entire
Nin-
set. Like I went to 5 games. Oh,
19?
those were
No,
the
that's
days.
seven, is it? No.
Yeah, 19 in
19.
2019.
in the World Cup in Japan.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Last time we beat
Um,
them. Yeah.
I thought Dav Jenkins had a good game. Did think he had a good game. Um, do I think Ben Thomas is my 10? No. Didn't do anything overtly wrong, but didn't do anything overtly right to try and ignite anything. And I think by the time Dan came on, I don't think he had the chance to influence anything. Um,
I just think it's game plan though. When Edwards came on, the first thing he was looking to do was pass the ball on to somebody else. and
Yeah,
whoever
but that's
comfortable.
not freeing your backs up,
Yeah,
is it? It's not allowing people to play. I think tactically
yeah.
it's not there. And for 1 minute, do not think that any player who went on that field or was in that 23 on Friday didn't give it their heart, their soul, and everything else.
Mm.
I think tactically, I don't think it was there. I don't think they had plan A. This is our game plan. This is what we're going to do. And then it was a case of shit. Game plan A is not working. There didn't seem to be a plan B or a plan C or a plan D or plan Z. There was nothing where they thought about, okay, this is not working for us. We need to do this. You know, you know you've got DuPont there. You know where he's going to go. He's going to go through you sometimes like a hot knife going through butter. There was just nothing where we tried to close him down or put him, not that I saw anyway. I was watching in a rather crowded environment. Um,
I mean, the strange thing is
and
defensive.
that's what I would have done, is probably tried to shut him down as much as I possibly could have done.
Bizarrely enough, defensively, I didn't think things were too bad on Friday, which sounds weird for a team that conceded 40 odd points, but
Could have been more.
it could have been a lot more. And France are a good team, and they have got dangerous ball carriers. Um, but we've got to find a different way to play. There's no point when you've got a pack as big as France have got. There's no point just running at them constantly for 80 minutes
Yeah,
because I mean they weren't even competing at ruck time most of the time because they knew what was coming next.
it
We
was.
back
Yeah, they knew exactly what was going to happen next.
next runner comes. They just had to stand back and just keep that defensive line. There's no creativity at all, and we're not playing to the strengths that we've got. And we haven't got a big pack of forwards. We haven't got big ball carriers. And I felt sorry for the players who, as you said,
We've
were
got
all
some
trying
speed at the
their
back, though, haven't
very
we?
best, but they can't play that way with the players that we've got at the moment.
And I think that's where perhaps Gatland is going wrong, in that it's his style of play, not necessarily the style of play that suits the players that you've got. For me, it's we're not giving those players with the turn of pace at the back who can create. We're not giving them the spark to create something to make those runs. Um, not taking anything away from France at all. We didn't think we'd beat them, but we didn't think we would. We didn't think we'd get nilled, did we? Like, let's be honest. Didn't think that would happen. Um,
But our attack is just regressing. In any job that you do, if you go into a job and you've got your baseline and then you end up with something worse than that baseline, it's
you're on
not
a plan.
good enough. And that's exactly what's happening with the Wales attacking game. When Gatland and Howley came back, we were playing some quite nice, attractive rugby at times, and now we don't play any attractive rugby at all. We don't look like breaking a line. We don't look like, getting around on the outside of anybody. There's just nothing there in attack at all. So, we've gone backwards in strides.
Yeah, I cannot. If we go to Italy and we lose this weekend, I cannot possibly see how that coaching team can survive. Um, did anybody see the interview with Sean Edwards this week in one of the papers, where he said he'd love to come back to Wales? He would
Mm.
love to come back to Wales. Um, Obviously, what he's doing with France is working. I don't know if you've seen some stuff with him when he's trying to speak French to the French players. Absolutely brilliant, absolutely amazing. Um, Rod, how are you feeling on Friday after watching that, lovely?
Uh, I just think you can't doubt anyone's heart, and Mark's already said that. But I thought something just visibly lacking on the pitch was somebody screaming at the boys, going, "This isn't
Sort
acceptable."
yourself out.
In the way that Alan Wynne would have, Dan Bigger would have, somebody there being that loud, and maybe Dewi Lake is that kind of leader and that personality, but
Yeah,
not there at the moment, and Jack isn't that. And I'd never doubt his leadership, behind the scenes, um, or on the training field when it comes down to the technical stuff and being that support. But I wanted to see more of him just trying to whip those boys into shape. And I know that's not him, so it's hard to expect that from him. But
Yeah.
it just felt
It's
like, and I don't get the impression that Warren Gatland is that kind of leader as well in the half-time changing rooms. I don't think he's going to come out, spitting and verbally assaulting the boys, just try and strike some fear, some passion into them. Sean Edwards would be amazing at that.
Have
Uh,
you ever seen some of his halftime talks?
yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Absolutely hairdryer treatment.
Yes.
And you're right, I don't think Jack's got that in him, but you do need to say someone to be able to say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Where's your head at? What's happening? This is not like working.
We saw Liam
And
Williams
sometimes
this
you
week.
do need that boot up the arse, don't you?
Yeah, Liam Williams this week was talking about some of the boys saying they wouldn't say boo to a goose. They're having their team talks, and it's the same people talking over and over again. The younger boys just not feeling confident enough to put themselves out there and front up in those scenarios. So
Yeah,
somebody needs to be able to unlock that in them because at the moment, the passion's clearly there, the want and the physical commitment is there, but.
it's that fire in the belly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know how to say that in any way that doesn't sound quite brutal, but I didn't see that. And it meant that by 50 minutes, I was completely hopeless. I went into that game with no hope. And then my hope spiked after 10 minutes. And then I
And
really
then you
discovered what
then
hopeless meant because
yeah,
40, 50 minutes in, I'm usually hooked on a game. I was checking my phone. I wasn't that
we were on
interested in
Twitter.
the outcome. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
which is sad, but it's hard to get
yeah,
behind a performance where we got nilled. There's just nothing. It was a nothing
yeah.
performance. All we came out of it was with injuries.
I do think it's really funny, and I'm not blaming the ref in any way, shape, or form, right? Because it was 43-0.
Exactly.
But I do get the impression sometimes that they're scared to ping DuPont because he's the Messiah. I know we spoke beforehand about some forward passes, and I know it's like a high, um, it's very intense in the Stade de France. It's very loud, it's very noisy. Um, and for all that French people may be, they will bay for blood. A couple of forward passes for me, not that I would have, it wouldn't have changed the game in any way, shape, or form. But for me, it was a bit like, are we not allowed to ping him then? Is this not allowed?
Yeah.
Um, I actually was in a conversation on Twitter with Mog on Friday, Friday evening, and he mentioned about forward passing, and all I said right was, it's like the ref is afraid to blow the whistle on him. He's not getting pinged for anything. I got French trolls now, guys. Oui, mon ami. And I wasn't in the mood on Friday. Like I literally wasn't. So I clapped back, and he's tried sending me like YouTube videos and stuff. And in the end, I was like, mate, if you cannot see that pass was forward, it was practically in Belgium. Belgium, have a word with yourself. And I can't help myself. Like my tongue lets me down every time. Um,
I just couldn't believe that even the TV coverage, they didn't mention it at all. It wasn't mentioned on the commentary. It wasn't mentioned in any of the analysis afterwards. And thinking, am I missing something here? It's like the Patrick Mahomes effect, isn't it, in the NFL, where he gets
yeah, you can't.
everything.
Hey,
God, I know you're a Chiefs fan and everything else, and I'm an Eagles
um,
fan, Sam. So Super Bowl coming up next weekend. So
But did
I'm
did we notice leaders? I know you don't see everything watching from TV, but did you notice our leaders protesting that? Whether it's, Josh Adams out on the wing, who's experienced now, he's at 50 caps. I can't remember who was defending that side of the pitch at that time, but somebody would have noticed, and somebody should have been
I
in the
think
refs
Josh
here.
Adams did go to say something, but I think he got like shushed away.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there needed to be a bit more. Like Jack is great with the ref when he's playing for Ospreys. He needs to be a bit more like that in international and be like, I don't know, because the ref was saying stuff to him and he was asking questions, but he needed to be that little bit more psychological, a bit more forceful with the ref. And I'm not for a minute saying, like, please don't think I'm for a minute saying that any refereeing decisions had any impact on the game whatsoever, because it didn't. But I thought it was quite funny. I don't know if you guys listened to the Scrum 5 reaction podcast as yet this week.
Yeah.
With was it Navidi and
Uh,
James Hock who had a bit of nig
yes, they
over
did.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
It got a bit like testy,
It
didn't
did
it?
didn't it? Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Um, and I kind of agreed with them really and what they said about that. Um, Obviously we had the yellow cards with the referrals for red with that hit on Ben Thomas. Did anybody notice, and it's probably me because I'm a girl and I'm obsessed with nails, um, Natamax Nails? Is that how you say his name? I can never get my
Pentamac,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, he had a proper manky fungal infection nail on his hand.
No, I
And
didn't.
I was like, that's my brother. Eh. And he was like, you're obsessed with nails. And I was like, just because I have mine done every 3 weeks, but that is proper mank. He needs to go and see a doctor
I
about
thought you
that.
meant so, but he was painted like that all black second row who's got the painted nails.
Yeah, I'm good with that. That's cool. But it was a bit like, oh, and then my brother was like, you're such a girl sometimes. But I am technically a girl, like, do you know what I mean? But I did notice that he did not look happy bum bum when he was sent down that tunnel, did he? But it was a deserved dread, wasn't
It
it?
was, yeah.
Oh yeah.
There'd been a bit of niggle before, then he'd been hit. Thomas had had a little bit of a pop at him a few minutes before. So I think there was a little bit of red
You're
mist
having it, mate.
on him and he was going to have him. It was a bit of a
Bastard.
throwback really to rugby in the 80s and 90s when they were people got targeted after they'd done something to another player or whatever, and there was
Yeah,
an
yeah,
element in it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I wonder if Jalibert will get his chance in the limelight now, though, because he did that whole storming out of
yeah.
the last Six Nations camp or the Autumn Nations games because he wasn't first choice and
He had a bit of tanty, didn't he?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I
He
wonder if
had a bit of a
he wants now.
tanty.
Unless they move Ramos up to
Unless,
10 is the other option, isn't it? But
yeah,
Yeah,
of course, of course.
but I don't really want to talk about it anymore because I'm quite sad,
No.
if I'm being honest. But we can kind of move on to Saturday's fixtures. Um, Scotland, Italy.
Hmm.
Um, I have to admit, I only saw the second half because I was having my ear pierced, but I was keeping an eye on it on my phone, and I thought, oh, great, two tries up. Then all of a sudden, Italy leveled up to 19 all, and then Scotland just managed to control it
mm.
in the second half. Um, but Italy don't look a pushover by any means whatsoever.
I think it's quite
Think they give
disappointing.
Scotland a fright.
Yeah, I think they'd be quite disappointed, even though they brought it back to 19 all. I think as an overall performance, they'll be a bit disappointed they didn't push Scotland a little bit harder. They had Finn Russell had probably had one of his worst games for Scotland that I've seen. He looked rushed and hurried all the time. Did a good job on
They
him.
put him under pressure.
But I think Italy as an attacking force would be disappointed with what they offered on Saturday, and that's worrying for us because they're going to be wanting to put that right.
They're going to be
I
upset.
was just thinking about that. I don't know what's better or worse, to be honest. If they won against Scotland, they'd be coming in, heads held high, um,
Yeah,
to sort of do the double, or the first, two opening games, probably for the first time ever in their existence and involvement in the Six Nations. Um, or, they lose as they have, and now they really need this win against us. So I don't know. I don't know what's better. Either way, it's not going to
I'm
Scotland
be.
just hoping it's a bloody good game because I'm there,
Yeah,
you
Scotland
know?
exploited the wide areas well, but the problem is we don't play the ball wide ever.
No,
So that was how Scotland got around them literally on Saturday was by using their wingers effectively, getting the ball out to them, creating space for them. Um, but we don't look like doing that at the minute.
no, no. So it could be a depressing afternoon for me on Saturday. Um, That's if I survive the trip to the Vatican on Friday and I don't burst into flames when I walk in there. It is a strong possibility. Um, Perhaps they can arrange an exorcism for me while I'm there, cast out my inner demons. Um, Obviously, looking ahead to Saturday with regards to that Italy team, I think you're right that it's either going to be a clash of the Titans. Both teams are going to be mega up for it, and it's going to be mega, mega, mega tight because both teams have got something to prove. They have. Wales getting nilled against France, a hell of a lot to prove. Italy just missing out on that and being shut down by Scotland. Again, they've got something to prove. So it's either going to be that massive, great, big clash, or it's going to be a fizzle. Um, for me, it'll be interesting to see the squad selection for both teams, whether stick or twist. Potentially with Italy is sticking, with Wales, I think the definition of madness is doing the same thing every time and expecting a different result. So do we switch a it up? But I think, Scotland looked okay. Italy looked better than I thought they'd look. But then we go to the big one that was being billed, the clash of the opening weekend, which is Ireland, England. Um, I, sorry to our Irish friends, not a fan of the Irish. Not for me, not at all. Um, I'm a quarter English, but I'm not a fan of the English. So that game for me on Saturday was, I didn't really care, if I'm being honest. I'm not like that bothered. Um, if I can just point one thing out, Gary, my brother, if you are listening to this, take your bloody England shorts out of your suitcase. You are not taking them to Rome. Got England shorts, mind.
That's
The boy
not.
has got England shorts
That's
and
not.
he's put them in his suitcase. Like, have a word with yourself.
No, I
Um,
had stakes in the England Ireland game. I had emotional stakes in it because after a weekend where Italy and Wales lose, the only joy that can be found is in an England defeat. So yeah, I was rooting for Ireland in that instance.
just the Neely men of the Northern Hemisphere, and they just do me in. Um,
And at halftime, you'd have been laughing,
Everyone's
Rod.
leprechaun and everyone's happy. No, no, they're really not.
Yeah.
Um,
I
oh
mean,
God, I'm
England
going to
looked.
get to beef with the Irish now as well, and I.
Uh,
French, South Africans, English, and Irish. Happy days. Well done, Sam. Um, I did think England were gonna. I thought England were gonna do it, because those buggers always come right at the right time, don't they?
they did
Um,
their usual, and they can't hold on to leads at the moment. And they
no,
had Ireland where they wanted them at half time. Okay, Ireland went up a few notches second half, definitely. And England just dropped off for whatever reason, whether it's fitness, whether it's confidence, I don't know, but they just dropped off big time and just couldn't compete. Saying about the Irish players that you don't like, James Lowe is not a likable character, is he? But he's a hell of a player.
he's a good player, but I just want to again like Dupont to just whatevs.
Yeah, I mean, he was superb. And when Ireland have got people like Sheehan and Jack Conan coming off the bench, who were both outstanding off the bench as well. They're both probably going to be Lions. I mean, Conan's in a more competitive position, maybe in the back row, but they were both superb off the bench and it just shows the strength in depth that Ireland have got, I suppose, that the other Six Nations teams haven't at the moment.
Yeah.
I did enjoy watching it, like as a kind of yeah, very neutral. I wasn't bothered by the outcome, but there were some high spots for both teams. You're right. Lowe is a bit of the shithousery on him is
Yeah,
just unreal, isn't it?
yeah.
How he don't get his head caved in on a regular basis, I don't know. But so you were happy, Rod, with that result, love?
hmm Yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
pretty happy with it. Just for that really obnoxious reason that I liked it. Um, there's not much to claim about that weekend, and that was a small glimmer of something. Um, yeah, I mean, it was a scary England performance though, because it's probably an England team that could put 30 points on us.
Yeah.
So that's all I was thinking throughout, really. I was trying to push that to the back of my mind.
Don't worry about that now, love. That's tomorrow's problem.
Yeah.
But where, like, you are obviously like me at this time of year. Like, we've officially declared war in our house now. We have, like, this simples. Um, the worst argument we've ever had is when my Westie was alive, because John was adamant the dog had Scottish heritage and she was Scottish. Now, I bought her down Lampeter in West Wales. That dog was Welsh. She might have grandparents who were Scottish at some point, but if she was qualified to play rugby, Tinkerbell would have been like she'd have been a Welsh player, like. So we've declared war. Where are you and Amy at with this, Rod?
Well, she's not really a sports fan, so she just gets behind the Welsh team. But mainly
But
just as moral
still,
support for myself, I guess. She's really not interested.
emotional support for me when I'm crying into my pillow. Um, but when she'd been here for 3 years, like I say to John, she's technically Welsh by that point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, happy days.
Yeah, she's learning Welsh. I probably said it on the pod before. She was raised in Cyprus, so she does. I don't think she feels particularly English herself,
English, no.
even though her parents were. But she did a genetic test, and she turned out 15, 16% Welsh. So
Did
she's
she?
more
I'd
Welsh
love
than
to do one of
Scots.
those.
Mm, yeah.
But I listen to too many podcasts where you had the crazy Dutch dude who went all over the world spreading his seed, and he's got thousands of children all across the world. And it's really bad now in Holland because so many people have got kids by him and he won't stop, and there's no rules or laws. So I listen to those things, and people are doing, like, is it my DA and me or ancestry or whatever? And people is just popping up that these people have got loads of siblings. So I'd kind of like to know my background, but then I don't want to be on a database either.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because my
Yeah.
father was in the Merchant Navy, he travelled here, there, and everywhere. You know, I'm not saying that I've got a sibling anywhere, but I don't want anyone popping up. Like one of my brother is more than enough for me that to handle. Um, but looking forward, then, I know we've said about selections. What do you think Gats is going to do?
Not much, I'm afraid. He's
No,
quite loyal to his squads, isn't he? And I wouldn't be surprised if it's, apart from injuries, almost the same team that goes out again. I mean, obviously, Watkin is out, which hopefully opens the door to Eddie James to play at 12. He has got the option, I suppose, of moving Tompkins across to 12 and playing Joe Roberts at 13, which I wouldn't be surprised if he did that either.
I'd love him to take Tompkins out the squad.
I know he offers nothing really, does he? Apart from
No,
experience.
he missed 4 out of 10, 4 out of 11 tackles against France. I know it's France, but you know, he's in there as
you
a
can't
bit.
be doing that though at that level of rugby. You can't do it.
Yeah,
Especially when you're
Um,
there to lead, you're there to be the man that marshals that
exactly.
defense. And
That's what he's in for, isn't he?
yeah, exactly.
He just didn't do that. So I'd love to see Ben Thomas shifted to inside centre with Eddie James outside him, because then he's got Ben Thomas inside him, and then Josh Adams on the wing. Two experienced fellas. I know Ben Thomas not experienced in a Welsh shirt, but certainly experienced playing at centre for his club at a decent standard. So I'd love to see that centre combination. Maybe
yeah,
the lock-in stuff will force that kind of move,
Mm.
and
yeah,
then Dan Edwards starting at 10.
yeah, because you've given him the opportunity to show how he can control a game from the start.
Yeah,
Um, because you're not going to know if you don't bring him on. And I think for me, the problem with I would have been tempted to bring him on. I know he was brought on because Owen's injury forced the change and the move around, but I would have thought that would have been. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I got no solutions, guys.
Yeah.
But
I think he'll stick with Thomas at 10. I think he's nailed his colours to the mast there that he wants him to play in that team somewhere. As you say, Rod, is whether he shifts across to 12 is the other option. I think he'll keep him at 10 personally. Otherwise, you've got a very, very young backline outside of Dan Edwards again, like you said. Josh Adams, I thought looked really out of sorts on Friday. I know he hasn't
He
played.
didn't look himself.
He didn't look as sharp as I would have liked him to look. Maybe one game into the Six Nations now this weekend, he will have had that game
He'll
time.
move it up a bit. So
Who knows?
we've
I don't think he'll make too many changes personally. But
we're first up on Saturday, out in Rome. I don't even want to make any predictions if I'm being honest. Does anybody want to
do you know what?
put their stamp on it?
I never want Wales to lose.
Yeah,
However, if we win this weekend, that probably ushers in another period of Gatland being our coach. He
just
may
sticking a plaster over the hole in the dam, I knew.
nothing's going to change. If we lose, then surely that will be the end of the road. If not straight after the game, then certainly at
It
the.
can't not be, can it? It
But there's
can't.
really torn as to whether I want us to win, which sounds awful to say, but something in that coaching team has got to change because I think everybody can see, okay, maybe we haven't got the talent in terms of players, but we're not utilizing those players to their full potential at the moment and to, the right tactics to get the best out of them.
Yeah,
And if we win Saturday, then I'm worried that that will just continue to be the case for the next year, 2 years to the next World Cup, whatever it may be again.
yeah. We need to be building now. Then we've got England, France, which I think my money's on France, but I think they're the old enemy, and let's take it back to the 1600s. Why not? Um, but I think that could be a little bit tasty. Um, if England are sensible, they'll have done their homework, they'll have looked at footage from the weekend, and they will have come up with a stop DuPont plan. So that will certainly be interesting to see on Saturday evening. What's your thoughts on that, Rod?
I haven't really thought about it much, to be honest. Yeah, I think if they're smart, they'll have talked to the ref as well and maybe highlighted a couple of issues that
Things
we discussed to keep an eye out for in the French play. But they've just got to put in a two-half performance, haven't they, England, which has been their downfall recently. I th don't think that I think they've won one encounter against top three or top four opposition now within the last 12, something like that. So they're
it's not
just
been great a run for Borthwick.
yeah, they're just not achieving the big results. They talk about being one of the top nations in the world, but they're not proving themselves against them when the night comes. So they're going to be pretty desperate for that win. But France are flying high. Obviously, they'll be missing Entermark, so that's a bit of a blow. But they've got certainly plenty of quality to step in that position. Whether it's Ramos shifting or Jalibert coming up into
Ramos had a nice game
yes, yeah.
against me
Although
today.
he did miss half of his kicks, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, but what else he offers? Do you know what I mean? Seems to be okay for Cardiff to have a kicker like that. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It
Um,
doesn't matter when you score 6, 7 tries, does it?
no, no,
So yeah, they're just when England's defense looked good on the weekend, just gone, it was really, really good. You know, they were flying out to the line, and it was really working for them. They were putting a lot of pressure on Ireland at certain points. So if they can maintain that through the game, but I think that is maybe their downfall. It's so energy intensive, that defensive setup,
it's draining.
that by 60 minutes, yeah, you're out on your feet.
It's
So
round, yeah.
Don't understand
Yeah,
obsession either with moving Marcus Smith from 10 to 15 every game. It's as if he has to play every minute of every game. But to me, at 15, he doesn't look comfortable.
he's a 10. Um, you know, get a bloody haircut, Marcus. Need a thinning scissors on that lad.
he does look like an anime character when he's running, doesn't he? And hair is like hanging
Yeah,
behind him.
he looks like he should be. Not that I'm too old to have proper watched it, but he looks like he should be out chasing Pikachu's. Do you know what I mean? Was it Ash in
Ash Ketchum, yeah.
in Pokemon who had that kind of like quiff type thing?
Yeah,
And that's what I always think of when I see him. Um, but I watched the first couple of episodes of that Full Contact on Netflix, and he's been signed by Rock Management and EJZ's management, and they were like, "You've got the best hair in rugby."
They haven't seen half
No,
of
absolutely not. Um, but then I have to make an apology to John. I have to. I book to go away to the rugby all the time, guys, right? And I always book for us to go and watch Wales. Now, I don't even consult him. I just book in and pay a deposit and say, "Oh, we're going to watch the rugby." And I've done it to him in the World Cup. I've done it to him in the Six Nations. So, John, I'm really sorry that I'm taking you this year to Rome, um, and that our flight home is potentially going to clash with the start of Scotland, Ireland. But Sunday, I'll be Scottish. I kind of knew. Get in my belly. I sound like Shrek. Not like Shrek, but sound like Shrek. I've got
I
the
think
worst
he'd
Scottish
rather just
accent ever.
you upgrade his flight to one that includes Wi-Fi so he can watch it on the plane.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but it's
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
funny.
no.
Yeah, yeah, no. But it's quite funny that we'll all be in us like we've all bought new Welsh stuff to go. Said to John because it was a birthday in January. What are you buying, son? My mother's giving you money. What are you buying? He's bought himself a Calcutta cap Scotland limited edition shirt, and he's taking it with him.
Nice.
Love him. I promise next year, John, we'll go and watch Scotland play somewhere. I take this as my vow. Um, don't tell him I said this, but I think Ireland are going to win.
Right, so
But come on, Scotland. They'll never take your freedom, John. Um, but yeah, so I think let's be realistic. Ireland are going to win, and they. Let's hope Finn finds a bit of his sparkle. Hugh Jones and Duan Van der Merwe. Have you seen they've started calling them Dow Jones now or Hugh Jones or um
oh dear.
Hugh Van der Merwe? They've started double like Benetton and that kind of thing, which I think is quite funny. But yeah, I think that's ultimately what's going to happen on Sunday.
How good was
Um,
Rory Darge last weekend? Just while we're talking about Scotland as well.
Amazing,
I mean,
really, really
thinking about
good.
quality in the Six Nations at seven, thinking about the Lions going forward as well. When you've got, your Darge, Van der Fleer, Jack Morgan, that's a hell of a selection problem for the Lions in the summer.
Wouldn't want to be in Andy Farrell's shoes.
No.
Would not want to be in Andy Farrell's shoes. Um, but I think realistically, that's what is going to happen. Um, I'll post some videos and stuff while I'm out in Rome. There's a couple of places that sandwich shops that I kind of really want to go to because they look amazing. Rod, I will bring you that bottle of limoncello, babes. Um, you know, I will try and find a nice one as well.
Nice.
But we've had some questions
Mm.
from our loyal listeners who have stuck with us. And we can crack on with those. And I sent them to you guys earlier on so that you've got a little bit of prior warning because I don't want to like hijack you totally through the episode. And it's a mix of Wales and Ospreys things, really. So we'll stick with the Wales ones first. And it's a statement, really. I think Gatland's time is up, fed up with the excuses.
Yes.
Agreed. Agreed. And that's from Jake Keneally.
The second
Um,
half of that, especially, just fed up of the excuses. Like
yeah.
Gatland just never, he doesn't strike me as somebody who's been upfront a lot of the time. And he's just trying to, he talks about media narratives. He's constantly spinning
You're in the media.
web,
Shut up.
isn't he? Of lines and facades. And I just feel like if he was just a bit more upfront with everybody, he'd take a little less heat because
Yeah.
it does feel like excuses. That's true.
For me, mouth closed, arse up, get on with the job in hand.
Yeah.
Little less conversation, a little more action, shall we say.
It's like trying to take the heat off the players, sort of thing, isn't it? But
Yeah.
so obvious when Gatland does it. Maybe because we all know him so well now, because he's been linked with Wales for such a long time. I guess when you've
Yeah,
got a coach that you're less familiar with, it's harder to read them,
yeah,
and maybe you think what they're doing is a lot more intelligent or well thought out. Whereas Gatland, it just feels like, oh Christ, we've heard this before. Anyway,
yeah.
rant
And
over.
he had a legacy, and that legacy is in massive risk, at massive risk of being ruined.
Hmm.
It's like these people who get divorced and then get remarried again.
Yeah,
Don't work the second time either, really. You
yeah.
know, we're not Elizabeth and Richard Burton. Do you know what I mean?
And I'm not in the
Um,
band of just like, oh yeah, just get rid of him, because I don't think anybody else in that situation right now would have made that
got
score
no one
differently on the weekend.
who would
Um,
want to come and coach us right now.
yeah, I'd want to see a plan and this,
An
that
exit strategy.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
And then another one regarding Wales was from Edward on um, Insta. Do you think Rob Howley should stay and is our selection appropriate?
Well, we talked about it earlier on, haven't we? I don't know what he does
Yeah,
to earn his money. To be honest, I know Alex King was the scapegoat last week, wasn't he, in terms of the attack coaching, but Howley's ultimately responsible for it, and it's gone backwards over the last 2 years.
yeah, yeah. And the next two then are Osprey's questions. Jake Keneally again. How many guys do you think we need to recruit? Do we need to recruit a lot this summer?
tight head would be great.
Yeah.
Potentially a big, strong South African from the Cheetahs. I don't know their team in and out, and whether they've even got that or whether they've got that in abundance, but most South African teams seem to. So that'll be quite a savvy recruitment. And with Owen Watkins' injury, maybe something in the centre.
Centre.
I
Yeah,
think being able to hold on to the stars that we have over the last 3 weeks, that's been massive. I think it was more
Yeah.
of an issue of who we're going to lose rather than needing to recruit heavily. Um,
yeah,
you can't have too much strength in depth ever. But I think it was money well spent to keep those guys on board.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And something worth saying is trying to maybe get some of the people that we've got on short-term contracts onto full,
long-term contracts.
so Bosch off in the centre, Ryan Combia, because I think he's on a year-on-year rolling one at the moment, isn't he?
Mm.
Even less than that, is he? Is it just like month by
I
month?
think it was a month by month thing because of his injury, wasn't it? But I'd love to see him have something a
Yeah.
little bit long term. And
Dan Castende as
Castende for
well.
me,
Yeah, yeah. And then Will Spencer as well.
yeah,
If Adam Beard is
love.
coming, I know he was a
Yeah.
temporary fix, a sticking plaster just to get us
Oh,
through.
he's been amazing.
A solid long-term option there. Uh,
Yeah,
he's been
and I think
stopped.
he likes you.
Yeah, he
I
likes
think he
it.
likes it here.
I think he's taken some sort of leadership role within the lineouts, isn't he? It seems he's
Yeah.
certainly very vocal in that part of the game. So yeah,
Every time I think of him, I think of a giraffe yomping along on the savannah of Africa because he's so tall, but he's got that like elegance to his gait.
Yeah.
I promise I don't take drugs. I really promise. But these are the things that come into my head on occasions. The other one then is, and I think this is a really good question, Jaden Gray from Insta. Thank you, Jaden. If you could pick any player from the URC to join the Ospreys, who would it be and why? Can I just say mine? Because I'm a freak.
Yeah.
I know he's only short term, but Geordie Barrett from Leinster. We don't particularly need him, but I love him. And I don't need any further why reason than that. George Barrett.
Okay.
Done.
Your next, Rod.
I got a bit of a left field option, but you could almost call him an Osprey before he was a Scarlet, Marnus van der Merwe, and it's not a position that we particularly need.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
He's been a revelation for the Scarlets this year. He's probably even knocking on Springbok doors at the moment with how he's been playing.
Thought you were
He's
going to say Heaven's Door then.
but he carries so hard, and he's like 6'4". He's massive for a hooker. He looks a real deal, and I love watching him play. And I regret that we didn't offer him anything.
Yeah.
Not that we need any more people in that position, Even with Derby out injured at the moment and Sam Barry called up to Wales, we seem to be in good hands. Well, Lewis Lloyd now obviously is out as well. So maybe we could poach him.
Oh, you never know.
Mark?
I'm going front row as well, Rod. I'd like Ty Furlong, a tight head. He is getting on a little bit though now, so maybe Xander Ferguson instead. One of the two.
Hmm.
Solid choices, lads. Solid choices. Um, and let's circle back to our chants. Now, we had one from Evan Llewellyn Pryor, and it works. It works. It's really good. And he's stolen it from the Swans. Um, do you want me to do it, seeing as I was probably a North Bank hooligan?
I haven't got
Maybe.
it in front of me, so go for it.
I got it. So stolen from the Take Me to the Veg Fields 2. Oh Ospreys, black and white am I, standing on the North Bank until the day I die. Take me to St. Helens, way down by the sea, where we will follow Ospreys, Ospreys, oh we works.
It just
Evan, I
works, doesn't
love
it?
that, mate.
Yeah.
I love that. Um, and Andrew, my friend Andrew, then we were out on Friday and we were talking about this because he's like full on board with this. And he said the other one that we could really simple one we could like steal from football, which may not work because we've got three players with the same surname. But Morgan, give us a wave. Morgan, give us a wave. Morgan, give us a wave. Works. Simple. Everybody could get on board with that. Now we haven't had any more chat, but Nick Williams did message me and ask me if I can play a trombone. No, Nick, I'm not Sonia from EastEnders. I can play a clarinet, not very well. So there's potential we could have a brass band. Nick is on this and would potentially get involved. How you sneak those instruments in, I don't know.
I don't know.
Could
Do you have to sneak them?
just mate, it's my trombone.
Vuvuzela.
Yeah, who's gonna stop you? Like, do you know what I mean? Oh, mate, I've just come from music practice. It's just suspicious that we're all sitting in the same area. Or ring court.
Hmm.
I mean, shove it down the side, hobble, look like your fake leg. Um, so
Put a high
yeah,
vis on and say that you're pest control and you're here to scare away the pigeons.
what is that from?
I don't
Oh,
know.
that's a thing. That is a thing. Um, but keep those chants coming in because they're highly amusing us when we get them. So it's time for the rando. And we
We're
haven't
back
had
to
a we
random
had
questions, is it?
yeah.
Not,
So we had random thoughts last week, but random question.
it was tea or
Now,
coffee last week.
shut up. I was tired. Um, I love historical drama. Absolutely adore a historical drama. Love historical fiction. Love like the C.G. Sansom stuff. I just found a really good author about the Medici times in Florence, quite similar to the Shardlick stuff.
Yeah.
Love anything to do with Vikings. Um, so it kind of made me think. I don't think I could be the swooning type of lady in Bridgerton. Not, I don't think that's me. I'm not your Pride and Prejudice like kind of girl. And then it got me thinking, where else would I kind of like to go? And do you know what? I'd like to have been a Viking shield maiden,
I don't
like
think that
Lagertha in Vikings.
I don't think it would turn out all as nice as it's portrayed on TV. I think there'll be a lot of
You've not seen Vikings. It's not nice. It's on Netflix. Watch it. Lagertha's mental. I love her.
I've watched it, but I think the reality are you talking about going into that universe, going into the TV program, or are you talking about actually existing in Viking times? Because
Actually existing in Viking times, there were some proper really good shield maidens.
yes, yeah, but I just think it wouldn't be. a nice
Are you
time.
telling me I wouldn't be a shield maiden?
No, I'm saying you'd be fully capable, but I don't think it would be a good life. I think it would be a short life, a
Yeah.
smelly
I
life.
know, but I would be going into Valhalla having been blind drunk on the blood of my enemies. None of these Twitter spats. I'd take your scalp off with an axe.
You'd have a chain of heads on your belt.
Yeah, like there is absolutely no way that I'm this type of sit at home. Yeah, off you pop, love, you go and discover new lands. I ain't sitting at home by the fire. Get me my shield, get me on the boat. I'm not fond of boats, mind, but I'd be there. So where would you like to see yourself in history?
Oh dear. Like Rod said, most periods in history are pretty horrible and they're not going to last very long. Um, so I'm not going to go back very far. I'm going to go back to the 60s and 70s and to be a part of the NASA Apollo space program working for NASA in some way. I don't think I'd be brave enough to go to space, but being some
Good
part of it,
shout.
yeah.
That
Amazing.
is a good shout. I guess if you are gonna live a short and you know horrible life with a grisly end, you may as well go and see something cool and maybe answer some questions. So it'd be cool to just go back and see how the pyramids were made or something. I guess that would be quite cool.
Aliens. Hello.
No, I want to marvel at the
The
human feat.
engineering feat.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, I mean. There's a million different answers, isn't there? First, I guess Vikings who arrived on the American continent and sort of discovering that be pretty amazing. Um, some of the early sort of Marco Polo expeditions into East Asia along the Silk
Yeah.
Road be pretty cool. Um, yeah, lots of
Australia.
stuff there.
Like being deported out to Australia.
Hmm.
Can you imagine that brave new land? Like,
Hmm.
I'd have probably been a sheep smuggler
With a
or a
million
steamer
things
or
that can
something.
kill you.
Do you know what, right? I've always said my friend Neil's going to Australia for the Lions this year. And I've always said, no, it's New Zealand for me.
Yeah,
Same kind of temperature. And to be honest, there's nothing much there that can really badly kill you.
Yeah.
yeah. And it's the ultimate rugby nation, isn't it? I think if you're going to go on tour anywhere, New Zealand,
Oh,
place you want to be.
absolutely.
Just living.
Absolutely. Did you
I'd be
know
going
that
there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to visit all the Lord of the Rings filming sites.
I literally thought of you today? Um, and it's not for you, but it's for Amy. Loungefly, the company, they do amazing bags, and they've just done a Lord of the Rings bag and dress collection. It's lash. It's really lovely. I'll send you the links because Valentine's Day is coming up and whatever. Um, but did you know that if you were an ex All Black, when they used to have phone books in New Zealand, if you were an ex All Black, you had an AB next to your name in the phone book.
Really?
Hmm.
Wow. That's
And
pretty
it, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and you also couldn't buy a New Zealand rugby shirt until very recently
Yeah, I knew that.
because you weren't worthy to wear the jersey. You've not been selected to be an All Black.
Yeah.
What do you mean you couldn't buy a jersey?
Couldn't buy a jersey. Couldn't get a replica jersey.
But
Didn't
I've
sell
seen
them.
that. I've got one.
Yeah, you can
I
wear
mean,
them now, but you never used to be able to do that.
oh, okay. When you say recently, you mean, you
I'm
know,
Yeah,
47.
so
Recently to me is 1992.
yeah,
I think you
sadly,
meant like this was new. This is news. Like,
No. Oh my God, you're such a baby. Um, but yeah, I like to be a Viking shield maiden or Second World War. My auntie was one of the first ever radar operators for the RAF in the Second World War. Absolutely amazing. Got shot by Germans and everything. Walking
Yeah.
home from her shift. Jim plane had bombed Swansea and needed to lighten the load to get back because they were being chased. And they discharged all their bullets and she got shot.
Wow.
She lived. She lived. But she was classed as a war pension
Gosh.
lady. So I think that would be pretty cool.
You've got a bit
Um,
of danger, Sam.
love it. Can you imagine? Um, I
We'll just
think though, to
throw her
test my
into
vibe.
throw you into that Colosseum
Are you not entertained?
1,000 years ago when it's in its pop and fully built, and yeah, you could take on the
I think the
lions.
problem is I'm short. Do you know what I mean? I'm short. But then if I'm going back to that time, everyone else was short as well. Which is cool. It blows my brain that they had like water and ship things that went on in the Colosseum. That like blows my little head. But that's the rando for the week. So we've discovered I like a bit of danger. Mark likes a little bit of space, and Rod doubts that I could be a shield maiden.
Oh, I've got one final answer, just to
Okay.
throw it out there, on Charles Darwin's ship,
Oh
the
yes.
Beagle, just sailing around the world.
Yeah.
I do quote
Seeing
unquote
shit.
discovering stuff because half of what they did was just killing stuff and eating it and tasting it and
This is why we
preserving
don't have
it.
dodos.
Yeah, and drawing it
Um,
occasionally. But that would be really interesting. Equally as horrible. Like I'm sure they probably lose 30% of their crew on these voyages.
scurvy.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
nasty. But yeah.
But would be interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, what's a
Well,
tropical disease anyway?
yeah, let's not worry about it. Um, but that is us for this evening. Now, we know there's been some sad things we've talked about this week, but we hope we've cheered you up with some chants and some randomness. Our banners will be up as usual for our socials. So please follow us. Um, I'll do some videos from Italy.
Hmm.
Um,
Losing time.
I'll do a Sammy two-way around Rome kind of thing. Give them to Rod so he can pop them on our socials for us.
And if we
Um,
lose week on week on week, I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk about it in this much depth each time. So we'll just come up with some games or other
should we do a
distractions.
Sam's quiz? Sam's quiz.
Well,
Um,
if the Wales game does get too much for anybody on Saturday, there is a URC game Stormers Bowls being played at the same time.
yeah,
Look over to that one as well.
yeah. Well, you can watch that. Let's see how they get on. But have a wonderful weekend, lads. I won't message you when I'm getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. I'll wait until I arrive in Rome. Um, Funny enough, Friday night, I'm going to a Gulliver's Clubhouse event, which is being run by Nikki Smith, and it's a question answer session with the Welsh rugby coaches.
That's
Can we
cool.
just take a sign?
Wow. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah? Howley out.
Gatland follow him.
Yeah. Fuck off. But I'll let you know what comes of that. I'll see if I can get some pictures.
Yeah, we need.
Last time I did that kind of thing, which is probably not very. Oh, I love him. I had my picture with Wyn Evans at the last Gulliver Clubhouse that I went to, which is probably, love him. But have a wonderful weekend. Follow us, like, subscribe, share this with your mates, share it with mates even if you don't like it or like them. We're up to 100 followers now, guys. So the more likes, shares, and subscribes, then we'll start running some comps.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get some stuff merch ordered, get some comps. But have a wonderful weekend wherever you are. And I was going to say whatever you're doing, you're obviously going to be watching the rugby, but have a lovely weekend wherever you are. And ciao bella.
Don't let it get you down, guys.